Hello and welcome back to Tits, Tums and All Things Mum. I am here with the lovely Charlotte today from Chaos and Cakes, who, by the way, did the cake for the 100th episode. And what a surprise that was. I had no idea what Emma had up her sleeve when she was like, I've got a surprise for you. I was like, what have you done? Like, have you got me a stripper? Like, what's happening?
That probably would have been better though.
No, the cake was excellent. And then you walk in with this like massive cake and I was just like, what is going on? But it was amazing. Like it had the logo on it. It was just perfect. So thank you so much.
No worries. I don't do things by halves.
No, I can tell. I mean, look at the size of these cakes back here. If you're watching on YouTube, look at these. They are so gorgeous. You are incredibly talented.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's been a long, old road to get here.
Yeah.
But 10 years I think I've been doing cakes now.
Yeah.
Like not professionally, just started off like friends and family and stuff.
Yeah.
But 10 years, yeah.
Did you have to like go to like uni or college to learn, or have you just self-taught?
No, literally just self-taught. YouTube was just coming out when I was at uni, and so I used to just spend a lot of time watching YouTube videos.
Yeah,
It was really mesmerising just watching people make cakes. And even then I didn't know that I was going to make cakes.
Yeah.
I just found it really interesting.
Yeah, and now you're getting like booked by people like Ariana Grande. Can we just talk about that for a sec? Because this has all happened today.
Yeah, so last year I made a couple of cakes for production, and then they caught wind that I was making cakes, and I was booked to make Ariana Grande's 30th birthday cake. It was the most surreal day ever.
Yeah.
First of all, getting the phone call, then FaceTiming with her manager.
Oh my God.
Then FaceTiming with her mum.
Oh my God.
It was insane, absolutely insane. And then, literally presenting her with this massive 3-tier cake.
Yeah.
That
Did you actually give it to her?
Yeah. So
Oh
I drove it to LG Studios, about an hour away from my house, on the hottest day of the year.
Oh my God.
In separate tiers.
Yeah.
Assembled it in complete pitch black, like backstage. And then they wheeled it out over about 600 cables, so the cake's like wobbling, and I'm literally there like, oh my goodness, please don't like hurt the cake, like trying to hold it but not hold it. And then they all sang happy birthday, and Ariana Grande just walked straight in.
Oh my God, that is amazing. And did she love it?
She did. She was absolutely over the moon. But it was quite funny because I'd made a model of her, basically. Like they rang me and they were like, we want this cake, we want elements of the film in it, and we want her in a bubble on the top. And I was like, okay, cool, no worries. Yeah, absolutely. Like I do this every day. I don't. And it was stressful. But I made this model of her, and I'm not a great like fine tuning with the icing. So I was just like, it kind of looks like her. You get the gist. No one's going to really look that close. And then the first thing that she did was pick the bubble off the top of the cake. Oh. And she's like, I'm going to take this home with me. And I was literally there like, oh my goodness, that's the worst bit. And she flew it back to America with her,
wow.
I think. But yeah, the picture that came out today was the picture of her taking it off the top.
Yeah.
It was the director of the film shared the photo, and that's the first photo that's come out. I made it a year ago, and that's the first photo that's been shown of the cake.
Oh, really?
So yeah, my phone's been absolutely mental today.
Oh my God, that's insane that you did it a year ago and it's only just come out.
Yeah.
She needs to tag you. Does she know who you are?
I don't think she knows who I am.
Oh,
I'm just one of the little people, but I was very grateful to be there.
Yeah.
And that production actually provided me quite a lot of work.
Yeah.
Boosted me to where I am today.
Oh, amazing.
Because I made cakes for John Chow, the director, Michelle Yao. She won an Oscar on a Sunday night, I think it was.
Oh.
And then on the Monday, they rang me and went, can you make her a cake for when she comes back on Thursday?
Jesus.
And I was like, yeah. I didn't have a kitchen at this point either because I was renovating. So I'd literally gutted my entire kitchen, like air fryer in the corner on the floor was the state of my kitchen. So I was hesitant to take it on, but made it on the Tuesday at my mum's, decorated it on the Wednesday in my office and then took it and presented it to her on the Thursday.
Oh, wow.
It was just completely like out of body, surreal. Like, how is this my life? How has this happened to me?
Well, now you've got Ariana Grande, she'll be like chatting to her friends and she might be like, so this girl made me a cake for my 30th birthday and like, here's the bubble that I've saved, and we need to get you a cake. And who could it be? Like, I don't know. Who's really famous? Taylor Swift.
Are
they
Taylor
buddies?
Swift's next on my list.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're friends or not.
You need to do like an end of the eras tour cake for Taylor Swift. You should do one anyway and just tag her.
I've seen a lot of people do her eras cakes. Like, they've made different cakes for different albums that she's done and stuff.
So
but I'm going to see her on her last UK tour in London.
Her just the London
date.
one. Is that the last one ever or the last one?
No, I think it's the last one in the UK, so I might just take a cake with me and just try and throw it at her and be like, love it from the floor. Like, there you go.
A cream pie to the face. Sorry about that.
Don't mind me. By the way, here's my business card too.
Could you imagine though? That would be incredible.
That would be crazy.
This podcast is proudly sponsored by Cover My Bubble. Emma and Chris lost their baby girl Lily Beth at 1 month old and faced financial struggles on top of their grief due to not having life insurance. Now they help others by offering insurance for parents, children and bumps, covering critical illness to income protection. Visit covermybubble.co.uk to cover your bubble. Anyway, we've kind of like skipped on straight ahead to the cakes, but I want to know a little bit about you. So tell me about you. Other than cakes.
So my Instagram name's Chaos and Cakes because my life behind the scenes is chaotic because cakes isn't even my main job. I'm a mum of 2, married with a dog and all of that stuff, and run another business with my husband. But yeah, my life is literally chaos.
Yeah.
So
I feel like even without multiple businesses as parents, your life just feels like just absolute carnage all the time.
It really is. And people say to me like, how do you function? I'm like, well, I don't really know. Like, I make a joke. I'm like, I don't ever sleep. But
that's literally my joke too.
Yeah.
People say to me, how do you do it all? And I'm like, I don't sleep. That's how.
That is the way. And it's just kind of brushed under the carpet. But I think, you know, as business owners and parents and everything that comes with it, we obviously work so hard, but then we don't take the credit for it when it comes to it. So it's crazy.
Well, we were talking before in the green room about how, like, you reach one goal and then you're like, cool, that's done, what's next? And you're just like on to the next thing. And I feel like that's what you kind of just end up doing throughout life, especially if you're a business owner. You just like on to the next and keep going and never actually look back at those achievements and think, wow, like I did that. I made a cake for Ariana Grande.
I mean, I cried on the way home. I was driving down the motorway crying my eyes out like, did that really just happen to me? But even now, like, I've not really told anyone because... Firstly, I've signed non-disclosures about it.
I was going to say, are you allowed to share pictures of the cake or no?
So I haven't been able to share any pictures, but then this morning when the director shared a picture, I was like, well, hold on a second.
Yeah.
It's out there now, so why can't I? And then Ariana shared it herself onto her story, so I was like, I'm just going to reshare that onto mine.
Yeah, but I want to see like a close-up of the Ariana in a bubble.
Maybe after.
But... Yeah, just get back in contact. Ariana, I want to share this. Can I share this, please? Cool, thanks.
I don't even think she has like the authority. Like, it would be like the production studios and all of like the big wigs and things like that. Like, maybe. I think she gets away with it because she's Ariana Grande. You can't really tell her off, can you?
Yeah, no, you can't. No, she's too cute to tell off anyway.
She is.
She's like a little
so
pixie,
lovely,
isn't she?
Yeah.
She's so cute. Anyway, how do you manage 2 businesses and being a mum? Because that must be just absolutely wild.
It is crazy. I find that when I first started the electrical business with my husband 4 years ago, it was more than a full-time job and we had a newborn. But lockdown happened and kind of really helped us because the outside world was so quiet that we could just focus and get our heads down and get sorted. And then over the 4 years, I've kind of put practices in place that mean it doesn't take me as long. And then obviously the cakes kicked off when I took one in on a film set. And so now that's kind of taken over a bit. But I mainly do it while the kids are at school, to be fair. And then emails and stuff I'll do in the evenings. And like I'm trying to get to a point where I'm not working every weekend.
Yeah.
Because people have birthday parties on the weekend and they get married on the weekend and you need a cake on the weekend. So I've tried to kind of get away from that and do it like, okay, I can do you a cake, but you're going to pick it up on a Friday and it will last, I promise. Obviously not wedding cakes because that's obviously quite different, but a birthday cake, you can pick it up on a Friday and it will last until Saturday. You'll be okay. So I am trying to take a step back just to be a bit more present. Because I do miss that with the kids. Like obviously with lockdown, spending every minute of the day with them. And now they're at school age, which is great, but I feel like I'm missing out almost on that side of things.
It's hard when you're a business owner though, isn't it? Because the minute they're asleep, you're like, okay, work mode. Or there's still all of the stuff to do. You still got to load the dishwasher, you've still got to hang the washing up. By the time you've done that and you've done an hour of work and then you've got to have your shower, and I posted this on my stories the other day, that there's never enough time and you always have to sacrifice something. And for people like us, that's usually sleep, which is not good in the long run to keep sacrificing sleep.
So it's either sleep or housework in my house. It will just get to a point where there'll just be stuff everywhere because I pile things. I'm like, oh, that needs to go in that room, so I'll pile that there, and that needs to go in that room, and I'll just make piles throughout the house of stuff that belongs in different rooms. And my husband will walk in and just trip over everything and be like, what's going on? I was like, sorry, I've been working. And then it will just get so much, and I'll just have to spend like a Sunday morning just putting stuff back in its place to get it where it needs to be. Otherwise, I feel like it messes with my brain, knowing that there's just stuff everywhere.
See, I cannot not do housework because I get so stressed when my house is a mess. Like, that's the first thing I will do. So for me, my sacrifices end up being sleep and self-care. So I'll end up going like a week without washing my hair. Hence the big old bun that's like scraped back with grease today.
I only did mine because I've been at work all day with actual people, not just working from home. Like I was on set today handing out cupcakes for a new film that started filming today.
Oh, amazing.
And so I was like, I need to wash my hair. So I literally planned it into my day yesterday to wash it ready for today.
If I was seeing actual people, although I'm here with big lights on my head, so I'm hoping you cannot see the grease. But anyway, we scrape it up. It's fine. No one will ever know.
The mum bun is, it's our saviour.
Oh my God. I wouldn't be able to live without the mum bun because it's like day 7 now of not washing my hair. And I'm like,
can't tell.
Scrape it back.
You've done well.
Thanks. I've done a great job. So you also speak about your pregnancy that you had with your first child. It was quite a difficult pregnancy. Do you mind talking us through what happened with that and also having a baby in lockdown?
So my first daughter, who is now 6, I kept being admitted for reduced movements and stuff, and I was in labour for 27 and a half hours, contracting every 30 seconds because they did the whole hormone thing to kind of get me going, but I reacted oddly to it, and so I was contracting but not strong enough, but too quick. And so it took ages to sort all of that out. And it was just very traumatic. And then had the whole ventouse where they literally put a little like suction cup on her head and just pulled her straight out, like very traumatic. And then with my second one, again, I was getting reduced movements. And there was this thing that was going on, but it was in China, so nobody was really that worried about COVID at that point. And then they wanted to induce me again. And I said, that's fine, but I don't want that hormone again because I cannot go through that again. Like, I'm all up for getting her out safely, but please just try and break my waters first. So they did. And it took a while for them to actually find a bed because at that point they were splitting the labour ward into people who had COVID and people who didn't have COVID. And we ended up in the birthing suite, but they kind of made that bit the labour ward. So I had like this massive double bed and like an ensuite bathroom. I was like, this is insane. Like, because normally if you're induced, I don't think you can go in that side of things.
No,
and
so I was induced and you're just on like a hospital bed,
the hospital
on like a
bed,
ward,
legs up, like
with like 6
gone.
other women like screaming all night, and you're like, Christ alive.
They set you up for the no sleep. So I gave birth literally an hour and a half after they broke my waters. It was so quick. And I literally realised afterwards, my husband kind of texted a picture to my family, like, oh, the baby's here, she's fine, mum's fine, like all of that. And they went, oh, that's great. Just to let you know, we're in lockdown. And it, like, nobody knew what that meant at that point. And we were like, all right, okay. And then we were actually worried about driving home because at that point, there was no one on the roads apart from the police. Yeah. And the police were stopping people who were out on the roads to be like, why are you out on the road? So we were so worried about being stopped on the way home. Yeah. And we were going to be like, we have a newborn.
I have just pushed this baby out.
Do you want to see why we're driving? Like, we're all good. And so, yeah, we brought her home. And it was great. It was so great for the first couple of weeks because we got that time as a family of 4. It was just us. But it was horrendous outside, like the outside world. You couldn't get paracetamol. You couldn't get baby milk.
Oh, really?
You couldn't get baby clothes. And because she was my second, I was like, oh, I'm not going to get clothes. She's just going to live in baby grows like my first did because I wasted all this money. But she actually had hip dysplasia. Oh. So she was in a harness with her legs out to the side, kind of propped up. So she didn't fit in a baby grow. But I couldn't buy her any clothes because all of the clothes shops were shut because they were classed not essential. And so my mum actually was taking pillowcases. Oh. And men sewing them into little dresses for my daughter because there were no clothes available. Luckily, it was really hot that year in lockdown. I don't know if you remember, but everyone was in the garden. It was great.
Because I worked in ICU the whole way through and I was like dripping with sweat under the PPE. I was like, oh, kill me. Yeah. It was awful.
It was such a crazy time. Like, you look back now and go, oh my goodness, that actually happened.
It doesn't seem real, does it? When you think, like, I remember the first time going into a supermarket. I don't even think lockdown had been announced yet, but it was imminent. Yeah. And people were freaking out. And like the shelves were empty. There was just this kind of air of just like anxiousness and everyone was like looking at each other like, what's going on? And
you had to queue around the car park to get into Sainsbury's.
And you didn't know if you were going to catch it and die. And that was like the scariest bit, is that we didn't know what to expect because young people were dying from it. And it wasn't until the second wave that they realised like the risk factors and that actually we probably would be okay. Yeah. But in that first wave, you were like, cool, we're all going to catch it and we're going to die.
But also at that point, if you were going to catch it, you were going to catch it in hospital. Yeah. Because at that point, according to the media, it was only in the hospital. So everyone was kind of okay. And then the midwife said to me, right, here you go, here's your newborn, off you go. By the way, we're not doing home visits because of COVID. You have to come back to the hospital in the morning. God. And I was I remember walking down the corridors with my daughter in her carry seat in the car. And I literally had her as close as I could to my chest because I was like, I don't want her to breathe in here. Yeah. And then I got to the desk and the nurse said to me, she's like, right, have you got your blue book or your red book? I can't remember what colour. Blue book. And I was like, no. Oh, I just remember completely breaking down. Yeah. Like, I'm hormonal. I've just had a baby. There's COVID around. And I've forgotten this book. And she was like, it's okay. You're going to be all right. And I was literally just remember completely freaking out.
Yeah. I can't even imagine because I felt anxious just like existing without having a newborn baby, having the hormones that send you a bit loopy in those first few days, and dealing with the lockdown as well, because all of that anxiety must have just been so hard to deal with.
It was a very stressful time. And yeah, there was like really great moments out of it. Like I say, like we bonded really well as a family of 4 because my eldest couldn't go to the childminder. My husband couldn't go to work. Like, we were just a family of 4. But it was also really heartbreaking. Nobody held my daughter for 12 weeks. Yeah. Nobody had newborn cuddles. Nobody had anything. And I'm really close with my sisters. And then when lockdown was kind of lifted, I remember like going to my sister's house and my other sister met us there and they were both like cuddling. And I just bawled my eyes out because my daughter's now 3 months old and this is her first cuddle with my family. Like, it's insane.
It's so sad, isn't it? Like, my son wasn't born till January 2021, so that was the 3rd or 4th lockdown. I don't even know. It was a shorter lockdown anyway, the post-Christmas one. And he didn't meet anyone either until he was like much older.
Yeah.
And it was really sad, but also quite nice to have those newborn days where I could just be like, just fuck off and leave me alone.
You know, no one's going to walk through the door.
When my first was born, when I got home from the hospital, literally a day after giving birth, because I was quite poorly in hospital, I had to stay in for a day, got home to 9 people in my house. And my milk hadn't come in, so I was trying to breastfeed and also had a breast pump on, which I didn't know how to work, and I was crying into my peas because I couldn't work this breast pump out. And there's 9 people here watching me, just sat with my tits out with like a baby on one, a pump on the other, and I was like, oh. So the next time, just being able to be naked and just feed without all these people around, I was like, this is the best.
You don't feel like an animal in the zoo.
Yeah, that's literally what I felt like, an animal with just all these people behind the glass watching me. Yeah, it was awful.
My heart goes out to first time mums in lockdown. Because nobody ever really knows what they're doing, but second child, I'd kind of, I'd changed nappies before, I'd like fed before, I knew what to expect. And first time mums that had no midwife care, no breastfeeding support, no kind of anything. There was no baby groups, there was no socializing, there was literally like everyone envisages their maternity, I'm going to go for coffee mornings and play groups and this, that, and there was nothing.
Not real for anyone, is
that's
it?
Not real.
That's what I envisaged for my like motherhood journey, and I was like, yeah, that's a load of bollocks.
That never happens.
Doesn't happen.
But the first time mum expectation that's gonna happen. And then they really had it ripped away from them. They had nothing.
Because my mother-in-law like practically moved in with us with my first child. Like she was at my house every day. I remember having like a meltdown one day and she was at my door within like 2 minutes. And just not having that like luxury of having someone to just pop over and like calm your nerves if you're having a bad day is just, I don't even know how they did it.
No, you can't even take a minute, can you? You can't just be like, can you just watch the baby while I go and shower?
Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
Obviously, you've got your husbands and the other kids, but like, sometimes it's too much for both of you.
Yeah.
You just need a minute.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
There wasn't that escape to be like, okay, right, I've calmed down, I'm going to go back in and sort of deal with things.
Yeah,
there was nothing.
It was such a wild time. Like, I feel like COVID took away so much humanity. Like there was people dying in hospitals without their relatives. There was women having to go to scans to be told like bad things but without their husbands. There was women giving birth without a birthing partner at all. Like it baffles me that was even allowed to happen. Like when I gave birth to my son, I don't know how it was for you, my husband wasn't allowed to be there until I was in active labour. So he had to sit in the car until I was like far enough dilated that I could call him and be like, yeah, my cervix is dilated enough for you to come in now.
You can come and look.
come and join. It was wild, isn't it?
Yeah. So COVID, when I gave birth, COVID was still very unknown. So nobody was wearing masks.
Yeah.
There was literally nothing. And then it went from, your husband can come in, like he was with me the whole time, the nurses were in there the whole time, there was no masks, and it went from that to we are in lockdown, and it just literally went 100 miles an hour. There was no husbands, everyone has to wear a mask. If you have COVID, you're going in that separate room to that person, and it was just insane.
Wasn't it? Such a wild time.
Yeah.
I remember them telling my husband that he had to wear a mask the whole time he was there, and he was like fuming about it. And then I was literally mid-contraction and the midwife came up to me with a COVID test and tried like sticking it in my face. And I'm there with gas and air in my mouth, a COVID test up my nose. And I'm like, what is happening right now? I just can't believe that all of this stuff happened to these women when they were trying to give birth to a baby.
Yeah, it is insane when you look back at it. Like, how did this happen?
I know.
It doesn't feel real.
Hopefully we've learned from it and should, touch wood, don't happen again.
No,
should anything like that ever happen again, I'm hoping, as I would say as a nation, but the whole world went through it, I'm hoping that people would be kinder and just allow a bit more humanity, because it feels like that was just stripped away.
Yeah. There was little glimpses of it. You know, everyone started street WhatsApps and looked after the elderly, didn't they? And they were like, if you need anything, I'm going to 3-hour round trip to Tesco's because they've got a queue for 2.5 hours to get in. But if you need anything, and you know, everyone, there was that side of it as well.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of negativity and a lot of like craziness that happened.
There was the cute little things. Like my brother-in-law became, I can't remember what they were called when they delivered the shopping. They signed up to an app, and then because they were furloughed, they then delivered shopping to elderly people. They had a name, but you could do it if you were furloughed. And he was doing that. We all had rainbows painted on our windows. Yeah. And I remember when you went out for like your daily 20-minute walk, we hunted for rainbows. Yeah. We were like looking for rainbows as we were walking. And there was the 8 p.m. on a Thursday clapping for the NHS, which I liked at first. And then eventually it really started to piss me off because I was working in the NHS. All the way through it, and I was like, okay, we don't want clapping anymore, we want a pay rise. Like,
just help us out in any other way.
And then fireworks started to happen on a Thursday at 8 p.m. as well.
People went all out.
Yeah.
And obviously people were so grateful for the NHS. And so grateful.
Yeah.
And the rainbows is definitely something. Like my kids are both obsessed with rainbows. And I do love rainbows too, so I don't mind as much. But I definitely think it was a lockdown thing. Yeah,
definitely. And now I've only just washed my mandala rainbow off my window.
Have you?
How many years ago was that now?
I can tell you exactly.
Oh yeah, you can exactly how many years.
It was 4 years in March.
Yeah.
So God, 4 and a bit
wild,
now.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
That is wild. It's gone so fast though, and thank God we're out of it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was crazy. So Boris Johnson literally said, we need to stay in. And my daughter went, I'm coming out. Literally 5 minutes into his lockdown speech. I think he announced it like 2.5 minutes into his speech.
Yeah.
And 5 minutes into his speech, she came out.
So she's got to be the unofficial first lockdown baby.
Yeah, and it was cute at first. We were like, oh, we've got the lockdown baby. And then every baby for the next like year and a bit was a lockdown baby.
Yeah.
So it kind of, the novelty wore off.
First, though.
Yeah, she's the
unofficial. There can't have been anyone else delivered. I've
Googled it. I've done everything. Apparently one baby is born every 60 seconds in the UK.
Oh,
so I don't know.
Yeah.
That's why I'm like, unofficially, we think she might be.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I don't think I'd ever want
to find out.
Just say it. I don't want to take that away from her.
So you also talk about a pregnancy with an unstable lie as well. And when you said that to me, I was like, I've actually never heard of that. So what is that?
So with my second, she was laying sideways from about 27 weeks. And it wasn't an issue, but it kind of was an issue. And then every time I would go to my midwife appointment, they're like, oh, we can't work out which way up she is. We think she might be breech. Then the next week they thought she was fine. And then she was sideways. And basically what they mean is there's nothing plugging the exit. There's not a head or a butt plugging the exit. So she's not head down, but she's also not breech.
Yeah.
So she's unstable. And I had a consultant and everything. And the consultant literally said to me, and this is quite graphic, she said,
it's fine, we're used to it in here.
She said, if you were admitted to hospital and you went into labour, an arm could fall out, a leg could fall out, the umbilical cord could fall out, and your baby
fall out. It doesn't just fall out though. Like
like these were her actual words. She's like, the umbilical cord could fall out, and obviously now thinking of it logically, that can't happen. But at the time, I was like, oh my God. And she literally said to me, if you were admitted and you went into labour, you would be on a hospital bed, face down, ass up, with a midwife sat next to you, with her fingers plugging you as we whisk you to theatre.
Oh my gosh.
Because if the umbilical cord falls out, your baby could die.
That's called something, isn't it, when that happens? Because I've seen it on, what's that programme with Emma Willis?
Every Minute?
No, it's a different one, the Emma Willis one. Delivering Babies or something.
That's the one.
I've seen that happen on there and it terrified me. But I can't imagine something just falling out because of all the effort you go to actually push a baby out. Like, how can something just fall out?
I was literally so traumatised. I was like, so do I just go home now and hope for the best? Like, what do I do?
Yeah.
And then tried not to Google it because obviously Googling is not ideal, but I am a Googler.
Yeah.
And so we were just like, okay, well, if that happens, then we just rush to hospital because we've got a toddler at home and we've got
with an arm hanging out. Of
I'll do a handstand the entire way to keep her in. God. But that's basically what they meant.
Yeah.
And then 36 weeks, I think I was. They then went, okay, we're going to try and turn her.
Oh, that's meant to be really painful, isn't it?
Inside of you.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, whatever you need to do to make us safe, you know, all of that.
Yeah.
I remember laying on the hospital bed and they were like, there's gas and air there if you need it. And I was like, oh, I think I'll be okay. And they were like, yeah, okay. And I had one doctor one side and one doctor the other side, and one of them grabbed what was a head or a bum, and the other one grabbed the opposite thing, and they just went 1, 2, 3, and they both just pushed so hard on my tummy.
Yeah.
And obviously the force of the pushing did turn her, and she was then the right way up, so she was head down.
Oh, good.
And they were like, right, we are gonna do everything we can to induce you now.
Yeah.
So they were doing sweeps. They were like, eat lots of curry, have lots of sex, do everything you can to get this baby out.
All the things you want to do when you're about to give birth.
They were like, she might turn back again.
Yeah.
Like, that is one of the risks. She might turn back again, and then we're back in the same situation. I was like, okay, cool. So they did a sweep, and I remember it just being like the deepest sweep I think I've ever felt. Ever. And the guy came out, he literally had like blood all down his arm. I was like, oh my goodness, how
did you
far
literally
did you go
in my uterus?
it was insane.
Oh my God.
But yeah, and then she still decided she wasn't going to come out. She was waiting for that Boris Johnson speech to be told to stay in, and she hasn't listened to anyone since. No, she didn't turn again. She was all good.
Oh, that's good.
But yeah, they broke my waters in the end to induce her.
That's good.
Yeah.
God, that's crazy. I didn't even know that was a thing, because I've got a friend who's pregnant at the moment, and her baby is sideways at the moment, but she's not worried about it.
No, see, I wasn't worried.
Yeah.
I was first spotted at 27 weeks. I was like, it's normal. She's got ages. Like, I've got like 13 weeks to go. Like, she's got so much growing to do. And then as I got further and further along, it became more of an issue because she was running out of room the bigger she got.
And then there's nowhere to move back.
To turn them.
Yeah.
And so,
Oh,
it was crazy.
Crazy. And how was your induction? Because I was induced as well. And you said earlier that hormone drip, did you find that like really painful?
It was and it wasn't. So I was induced at like 11 o'clock at night, but contracting every 30 seconds, but not really feeling it because I was quite early on. Okay. And then it got to like 6 o'clock in the morning. And I remember walking up to the like nurse's reception desk and being like, I think I might be in pain now. And she went, you think? Or you are? Like, where are we? And I was like, yeah, no, I think I am now. Like, I was feeling it. She's like, okay, have some paracetamol. I was like, great, thank you. Thank you so much. But it was, and then I didn't give birth until 2 o'clock the next morning.
Yeah, I know. Mine was a 36-hour induction, so I know it's awful. And it was all through the night. I was contracting really strong and like really painful until 3 a.m. when I agreed to have morphine. And I don't know how, but it stopped everything. So then I slept for a bit, which was quite nice. But then the next morning they had to then ramp up the drip, which then sent everything just wild. It goes crazy again,
doesn't it?
And I was like, what is this? I had an epidural in the end.
Yeah, I had an epidural as well. I think I got quite like to the point where I was like, this is insane. They had to take the hormones off of me. To try and calm the baby down, and then it got to the point I had an epidural, I had a little nap, it was great, and then they were like, yeah, it's not moving quite fast enough, so we're going to put the drip in. And I didn't know that it was the hormone that had made me contract crazy. Like, it was all a blur, and then started contracting crazy again. And then I remember getting to 10 centimetres, and the nurses, I had a student midwife as well, and they went, right, you're 10 centimetres, but we're just going to go have lunch, I think it was. They went on a break because they were like, what you do in the next hour is what your body would do naturally anyway. So there's no point pushing and tiring yourself out. I was like, okay, cool. Like, I didn't know what was going on. It was my first pregnancy. And then the doctor came in and was like checking on us, and he was like, no, not happy with the heart rate. So he called them back, and then suddenly the room just filled with medical professionals who were like, she needs to come out now. Yeah. And that is just so terrifying. It's like there's just suddenly a room full of people. Yeah. And episiotomy, there you go. Oh, no. Suction cup on her head, and they literally just sucked her out of me. Oh my God. They don't tell you, do they, when things aren't going well? I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, because like being medical, I knew anyway, because you can tell by their faces. Yeah. But they were like, they gave the baby
to Alec, and they were like, excuse me, husband, could you just pull that red cord, the emergency bell? But she said it in the most calm voice. But as soon as I heard it, I knew it was the crash bell. And I was like, what the fuck? Why is she pulling the crash bell? But they can see a lot more than you can see. So you just don't know.
And we were so out of it on drugs as well.
Oh, yeah.
So out of it.
Like, I was not in the room. I was elsewhere.
The picture that my husband took of me holding my newborn, like at one point I had to hand my daughter back to him. I was like, I'm going to be sick. I had literally I'd pooed myself. There was blood everywhere. I'd been sick down myself.
Such a beautiful moment.
It was glorious. And my husband's holding this newborn baby. He's never held a newborn before. He's running up and down the corridor like, can someone help me, please? This is my wife.
Oh my God.
And they came back in and obviously sorted me out. But because I'd had an epidural, I couldn't get up and just wandered to the shower.
Yeah, yeah.
So they changed the gown and obviously did the best that they could. But I was like, I'm going to be sick on my newborn baby's face unless you take her for a minute.
Yeah. It's funny how it's depicted in the movies, isn't it? But actually, in reality, like, you've shit yourself. You've thrown up everywhere. Can't move your legs because you've had an epidural.
And you've got your catheter in all of that as well.
My catheter actually fell out as well, so there's piss everywhere as well. So it's beautiful, isn't it?
It's the most beautiful thing in the world.
I know. It always makes me laugh, the pictures when Kate Middleton had her first child and she walks out in this beautiful dress with her hair had a bouncy blow and her makeup on. I was like a state. My face had swelled up. You know when you get like birth face and it's like a moon?
Yeah.
My face had swelled up. My feet were like big old elephant feet. And
because if you lay down for too long with an epidural, like everything collects in your legs and stuff as well.
I do not look like Kate Middleton. God damn it.
I remember trying to stand up the next morning because they were like, oh, you're like, it should have worn off by now. And I was like, oh, okay. And like, baby's asleep. So I'm like, right, I need a shower because of all of the body fluids that had been going on throughout the night. And my husband's like, oh, okay. So he tries to help me up and I just instantly like collapse in a puddle on the floor. Yeah. And I was like, maybe it's not worn off yet. And he just kind of scoops me back up into bed. But that first shower is so undignified. You're wheeling a bag of your own wee into the shower with you.
There's blood everywhere.
But you literally, it's so nice. Yeah. It's so good.
And the first tea and toast. Something about that toast in hospital. It's the best.
It was the tea and toast that set me off with the vomit. So with my second one, they were like, do you want some toast? I was like, absolutely not. I don't want that anymore.
I loved it. I was like, this is the best. You see these mums on Instagram who have like ordered sushi and stuff to and I'm like, no, just tea and toast. Tea and toast is good.
I remember sitting on the massive double bed with my second one. They obviously must have changed the sheets because
they weren't covered in
what
shit.
Happened. But I remember sitting on them, eating chocolate buttons and drinking a cup of tea. My husband's having a nap because he's had a busy day, obviously. It's so difficult watching someone.
All the pictures I've got of my husband are of him asleep as well. I was like, where were you? Just asleep.
Does Alex say the same thing? So my husband Alex goes, oh yeah, but those hospital chairs are so uncomfortable. And I'm like, poor you.
Poor you. You didn't have you just have your vagina ripped in half, or in your sake, cut in half.
Yeah.
And a Hoover put up your vag to suck the baby out.
It was. And then with my second one, there was so much blood. They didn't episiotomy me. It was all natural, but they literally, the midwife said to me, she's like, I need your consent, but I need to put my finger up your bum to make sure.
They have to check that you've not ripped yourself in your arsehole, don't they?
Just do what you've got to do.
I had to have that as well. And I had, what's it called? I had anal fibres.
Oh, no.
Anal fibres is a word you never want to hear said to you. I had it. So that grades you as a grade 3 tear if you've got anal fibres where they shouldn't be. I was like,
instead of downwards.
Excellent. So I literally tore myself a new arsehole.
Yeah.
With the second one.
Two became one.
It's that Spice Girls song, and two become one. It's not so good anymore, that song, is it?
No, it doesn't have the same ring to it after childbirth.
On that note, before I start crying with laughter, shall we get the wheel in?
Yes.
Well, let's do it. We need to move your cakes out of the way.
We do.
Okay, so when you're ready, if you want to give it a good spin.
Oh my goodness, there's so many things.
I'm holding out hope for a rank bank one. We haven't had one of them for a while. Oh, where'd we go? Oh, we did that one last week. Something you've learned about motherhood. Other than the fact that you can get anal fibres.
I mean, that is an eye-opener. I think I've definitely learned that I was a great parent before I had children.
Yeah. Wait, what?
So, like, you know when you're like, my child would never do that. My child's never going to do that. And then you have children, you're like, yeah, they're going to do that.
Yeah.
Because it's just such a coping mechanism most of the time. Like,
yeah.
So what if they have 10 minutes of screen time to chill themselves out after a busy
10 minutes?
day? Like, maybe like 10 minutes. But yeah, like all of those things that I said, oh, you know, I'm not going to be that parent. Yeah. I'm now that parent and I'm fully accepting of it.
I think everyone is that parent that they thought they weren't going to be, though. Like, I remember my mum was quite a shouty mum growing up, and I remember thinking, I am never going to shout at my kids. Yeah. And I'm like, well, that went out the window pretty quickly because I definitely shout at my kids.
Then you had kids and you realised why she was shouting at you.
Yeah. And now I'm like grateful to my mum because I'm like, that I know why you shouted now. Like, I know. I get it.
I'm so sorry for what I did when I was younger.
Being a dick. I'm so sorry.
But I hope you realise that I'm now going through the same thing. So karma has fully come around.
Yeah, definitely. But now she just feeds them all the sugar so that they get 100%. To the point where they are dicks and I do want to shout and I'm like, but now you're doing this to me.
And then it's home time, so you then have to take them home and deal with them on your own.
What is that? Why do grandparents feed them sugar?
I honestly have no idea. So I was at my mum's the other day, and every time my kids go to my mum's, they know where the snack cupboard is. Yeah. And it's not a snack cupboard, it's a cupboard full of sweets. Yeah. And my mum like portions them out into these cute little bags. She's like, you can have one bag each. And I'm like, when I got home from school, if I was hungry, the response would be, well, you should have eaten your lunch then.
Yeah, or you've got to wait till dinner.
Yeah, and I remember vividly sneaking down the stairs, like trying to get into the biscuit tin. Yeah. Because it was just, and now I'm just like, I never got that. I know. What? Like, I might start stamping my feet like a toddler and be like, excuse me.
I want it.
What? Where was this when I was younger?
I know. But yeah, fully agree with you. I was a better parent back then. I remember with my first as well, saying with weaning, I started to like puree all the stuff, like cook the veg, puree it, freeze it. And after like a month of doing that, I was like, no, fuck this. I'm not doing that anymore. It took so much time up.
It was ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the pressure that we put on ourselves as well.
Yeah.
That's just like, there's no, as long as your kid is healthy, like fed, first of all, in clothes, and that's all that matters.
In clothes. Like, my son runs around
sometimes
naked
in
most
clothes.
Of the time. Like, honestly, I had to. Yesterday, he's discovered his willy.
Oh no.
It's not good. He just plays with it all the time. And yesterday, I was like, okay, you can be naked because it's really hot. Like, it's really freaking hot at the moment.
It's ridiculous.
Enjoy your naked time. But he was just sat, like, pulling at it. And I was like, okay, we're going to put shorts on you now because we just don't want this situation happening, right? I'm all for him exploring his body. But when he's, like, yanking at the thing, I'm like, can you
might hurt yourself.
You're going to actually pull it off and I'm going to have to take you to the doctor. So, yeah, I had to put shorts on him. And even then he was doing it on top of the shorts. And I was like, oh, fucking hell, Jesus Christ.
He's found it now. There's no going back.
It. Yeah. So, yeah, he's sometimes clothed. Most of the time he's naked at home, but not anymore.
Home
not
doesn't
now
count.
He's found
home
his willy.
Doesn't count. As long as it's not in Tesco's, I think you'll be all right.
I think if he had his own way, he would, but he's not allowed to do that. I think I'd get in trouble for that.
That kind of thing.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming on. It's been such a laugh chatting to you.
Thanks
Do you want to tell everyone where they can find you and your beautiful cakes so that they can all order cakes from you?
Amazing. So I am primarily on Instagram under the handle Chaos and Cakes. I have a website as well. I've tried to make it really simple to order. So less of the, can I have this, but with that, like there is options online. You just choose what you want and then you collect it on a Friday and then job done.
Amazing. Love that. Well, hopefully you'll get lots of people coming to you for cakes because they are amazing. I can vouch for you from the 100th episode one, which was also about like 6 foot tall. So the slabs of cake that we were all taking home with us was just, actually we took it to the hotel room with us and had it 3 o'clock in the morning. Absolutely smashed. And it was like the best thing that had ever happened. So thank you so much.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. And thank you so much to everyone for watching, for listening at home. Please subscribe, download, all of the things, and I'll speak to you soon.